as part of the buildingSMART International Summit Berlin 2025. Thank you for joining. My name is Laura, and I will be your moderator today. Today's session is titled Ready for the Future. The speakers for this session are shown on the screen. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. Now I would like to hand over to Gerard.
Again, welcome everybody. I always get used to all these equipments. I'm not so digital, I guess. Welcome to the airport domain. Maybe I go back to one slide, if it's possible. Oh, I have to do that. This one. I'm always proud to be here. We have been here for quite some time. All the times we come and visit, we work on the airport domain quite some years already. But every time we are here, we are very proud that we are here. Because you see all these images of people there, I think almost all are smiling. That's always good. Because one of our mottos is we must have fun. And to have fun, you must understand each other, but also respect each other. So, and in what we have learned from one another, because they are very different, all these people. I'm Dutch. Dutch are blunt, are always saying things. And there are others, I have to do this more like this. And there are people who are more polite, waiting. And so we have learned to... There you see? Yeah, this happens in those meetings. So therefore, hopefully today you will see something of this pride we have and the fun. And hopefully next year, there will be more bubbles, more people to connect, because that's what we are aiming for, connecting through the whole life cycle, but every discipline in the aviation we want to connect. So hopefully we'll have the manufacturers on board next year, but later during this presentation you will see why we think that. So welcome again. For us, since we are working quite some years in the airport domain, we thought, are we doing the right thing? Are we doing it in the right order? Are we able to get people on board? Because we can be enthusiastic, we can have fun, but we like to share that. By the way, we need to share that, because then if we don't have fun anymore, because then we have to do all the work. And there's a lot of work. So today we will talk you through what we have done the last year, or maybe the last half a year, because we have met, of course, in the beginning of this year, Singapore. So every time we have to rethink why are we doing it to be of any order, that it's necessary that we do the things. And we also have to reflect on how we're working, because that is vital. If we doing the right things, but we do it on the wrong way, then it doesn't work as well. And also, if we have objectives, are we reaching them? How we are getting there? But if we have successes, let's share them. So that's that's the program, the agenda for today. So first, why are we doing it? And we have in 5 bullets, you can see the order from big to small. That's one of the things we're doing, from big to small. We are part of buildingSMART. You know, buildingSMART standardizes and brings all stakeholders together to make it in a sustainable collaboration. That's the reason why we are very happy that there are 6 people 7. And even there are more people in the audience, and there's someone also calling in. So there are a lot of people. We are really collaborating, respecting each other. And that's in the thinking of Building Smart. We are the domain, the airport domain, and our thinking is that we provide the things who are not yet covered in the IFC or in others. So we are only looking at the aviation entities or functionalities. The others we steal or we use from the general approach. We come to that at the end of our presentation. We'll come back to that. We also look at our clients. What you have seen, this we were at the presentation. It's always necessary to see why you're doing it. For me, I'm an architect, so I design airports. The client, that's my client. So I must be aware what my client wants and how to define that and how to understand that. That's a necessity, but that client needs to refer that to others. They use it to their, if we build things, then at a certain point they have to maintain it. That's their client. So we have to take into account for whom are we doing things. And then there you see we try to bring all functionalities or everyone together. So architects, airport owners, airport operators, architects, airport owners, but also we also have in our team the software industry, the software vendors. I think he will join us a bit later. The Autodesk guy will help us out how can we do it properly in an open way. And at the end, we like, and that's, I have to read that, the airport domain helps enable airports to capitalize on the digitalization of their built environment to enhance management of assets throughout the life cycle. I mean, that's comprehensive. That's the whole thing. How are we doing that? I said we must have fun and we must do it together, but we must have a compelling mission for that. We are very clear in what we want to, where we want to get, and we want to have the industry with us. Everyone in every part of the industry has his or her knowledge. We have to bring that together. That's true collaboration. And we also must be flexible because, as you have seen, we are very in favor of the data dictionary because that gives us the flexibility we need. And at the end, we must, and then you will see that these are the statements we took as a start. We almost must make the aviation industry aware that we are here, that you are here, that we need to standardize. So the marketing part is also a very vital thing. There you see, we have looked in the last 6 months. We looked to our governance structure. We also look back to what is our mission, how do we want to strategically want to obtain that, who is doing what are the responsibilities. As I said before, we need you, but there are people who say, I want to help you, but we can't answer on a good way how to help us. So therefore, we had to look to the roles and responsibilities. And we must have set before, this is what we think, this is what we want to, these are the objectives we want to get to. So therefore, it must be clear where we want to heading for. And how are we doing it? So now I'm going back to my colleague. We'll have our votes from the UK, hopefully.
Thank you, Gerard.
Hi, there you are.
Pleased to be here virtually, guys. So I've been supporting the airport domain for coming up a year now. My name's Lewis Watts. My day job, I am employed by Autodesk. I run a program there called Structuring Success. And that looks with some of our largest customers more on how do we structure and govern our partnerships? How do we work towards a common North Star? My background's in aviation. I've known Ariska and the team for a long time, and I kind of came into support in refining how we're going to operate as a domain and how we're going to deliver more impact into the industry. And so we kind of looked at the safe agile methodology and refining, like, why are we doing something at a portfolio level to improve the business and refine our mission statement. And the team already had a lot of this content, but really it's about distilling it down, agreeing it, documenting it, and then breaking down the challenge. As Gerard has mentioned, we're a bunch of passionate individuals that come from industry. We do this in our spare time often. And so the aim was to sort of break down the big mission statement into a series of programs, which were the what we needed to achieve. And whilst we were doing that as a group, we started to think about the change management process and ADKAR. So awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. And that's kind of where we started to frame some of our programs, that we needed to create some marketing content to drive awareness and desire through the markets. We needed to increase the knowledge of the people that are able to deliver these projects in an open standards manner. And then we needed to reinforce that with some success stories that start to define and demonstrate the return on investment. But all of this kind of started to distill down into our mission statement. I think there's a click on this slide. So yeah, our aim is to enable airports to capitalize on the digitization of the built environment. And at the end of the day, it's to enhance the management of their assets throughout their life cycle. And we're starting to see some real glimmers of where this is being done well. When you'll hear from Vienna, from Schiphol, from the NARCO team, and from Guangdong at the end of today's presentation, where they're really taking a lot of the content that's being developed in the BSDD through engagements with industry and embedding that within their data requirements and their project execution, and starting to reap the rewards of that throughout their operational lifecycle phases. Next slide, please. So this didn't happen overnight. I think Gerard referred to 6 month period that we've been doing this, and you can see some of our Miro boards that we started to develop. And so at the top of the left-hand image, you see the North Star. We also see the affinity to buildingSMART International. We had Richard Kelly and the team join a number of these sessions as we started to depict, how do we break this down into our programmatic buckets? Which buckets are going to focus on awareness and desire? How are we going to incubate the knowledge, and how are we going to reach out to industry? How are we also going to pay those industry leaders to join in and contribute to the development of the standards? What do we have to offer if not financial benefit? There's an awful lot of kudos. There's a lot of opportunity through connection with their peers as we work through some of these programs. And we're really seeing kind of entire ecosystems come together, where we have manufacturers, designers, contractors, and owners all sitting in a room and working towards this common goal. And that's really refreshing to see. On the left-hand image, you also see there's an awful lot of things we believe need to be done. And so on the right-hand side, what you see is an importance versus difficulty matrix. And so we took all of the actionable items from our left-hand mind map and started to distill, what is it that's most important versus least important? And at the top, what's the hardest thing to do? At the bottom, what's the easiest thing to do? So on the right-hand side, we've ended up with our low-hanging fruit. And that's really what we've now doubled down on since cementing this plan middle of summer until today. And you'll see some of the updates of what's been moving since then. If I get the next slide, please. So this is really the left-hand image drawn out in a neater fashion. So our portfolio, as we see it within the airport domain, is our domain that we have influence over. You can then see the programmatic buckets, which kind of relate to the ADKAR model in some ways, but we have a governance value stream and a series of epics that sit under that. Today, we're going to focus on what we've done around our portfolio management. That's really our control center for the steering committee to operate all of the other initiatives that are in flux. We have our airport entities program, which is looking very specifically at embedding further detail into the BSDD for the airport specific assets. And we're going to give an example of that with the baggage handling systems shortly. We've got our marketing and awareness campaign. And part of that, as I defined, is kind of presenting where users of the BSTD and IFC are getting value and are finding new use cases on how they can utilize this well-structured data. So we'll see some success stories of that, and hopefully you'll see some of those being publicly released shortly. And where we kind of haven't put too much work on at the moment is the training and onboarding. But we're well aware that we need to kind of adopt this. We've got some very talented individuals, some of which you'll hear from today within the teams. And I think the training and onboarding is really our next step as we look down the ADCAR model to ability and reinforcement and bringing new people into these working methodologies. But again, you can see the portfolio, the program, and then the teams that are starting to come together cross-functionally to deliver on the epics that sit within our value streams. Next slide, please. Okay, I think over to you, Ariska.
Yes, does it work? Yes, thanks, Lewis. So a lot of work has been done, mainly within the Miro board and in a lot of meetings that we've had. And now once we kind of came to a structure, figuring out a way of how we want to work, we also need to kind of find a place to monitor the progress. So we reached out to buildingSMART. Laura is in all of our meetings. And Laura came with the buildingSMART solution of Monday.com. Laura, I was going to ask you to present this slide, but I'll cover it for you. But really, all the work that is behind Monday.com is Laura. So we are using this platform as a management platform so that we can really show the transparency of all of the work that we're doing. We can monitor the progress. We can assign tasks to people or to groups. And we can eventually start reporting on it and hopefully use it to make better decisions for the airport domain as a whole. So what does that look like? Here's an example of the Monday.com platform. On top, you see the awareness. In purple, you see the promotion and engagement. We have defined the different steps from the Miro board. So that's what Lewis was just referring to. We can give it a priority and we can assign people to it and even add comments. So it's a very nice overview to see what we're working on, what the progress is, and also the linking pin between the airport domain and buildingSMART International. So Laura, thank you very much for helping with all of this because I wasn't going to do it. Moving on to the Airport Entities Program. You saw in the overview the slide with programs. Right now, we're only working on the Airport Entities Program, and we've actually been working on it for quite a while now. And as Gerard mentioned, we're finally gaining more interest from other airports to help on the different programs that we have. So that's very exciting. So we had a lot of airports reach out, ask us, hey, we want to help. We want to contribute to the progress that you guys are making. Let me know how we can help. And up until now, we really couldn't tell them what they can do or how they could help. So hopefully adding this structure will kind of help people to help us in the long run by being able to assign them tasks, create small working groups. And one of them is the Airport Entities Program that we've been working on, but are still not done. And the progress is slow because we're all doing it in our free time. So we attend the meetings when we can. But to give you an update, because there is a big update on the Airport Entities Program, just to take a step back, why do we have the Airport Entities Program? Some are working for airports, maybe some are not. So airports are pretty complex. They're basically small cities. We have infrastructure, we have buildings, we have utilities, terrain, we have systems. Everything comes together at an airport. And they all each require or have their own unique requirements. And with the Airport Entities Program, we kind of just focus on the airport objects that are not part of the IFC schema as of today. And these are the objects that are causing a lot of discussion in the life cycle of assets when building, designing, building, and maintaining those assets. So coming to buildingSMART for the need of standardization and to reach eventually the optimization of life cycle management. And so what we've done is we created clear agreements within the airport community. So up until now, with all of the people that are part of the airport domain steering committee, but also through surveys, which we'll dive into in the next couple of slides. And again, only focusing on the necessary parts of the schema. And hopefully that will eventually lead to the reduction of redundancies and inconsistencies that we are currently experiencing in all of the BIM models that are part of the different phases of the life cycle. And again, global collaboration is very important here. So again, we're gaining more interest from people wanting to help us, and we want their knowledge. So hopefully they can help move this project to the next step. Yeah, get your phones out.
Yeah. Yeah, as this is the the afternoon session, I can let you all just fall asleep now. I want you to take out your mobile devices, scan the code. We want to have a little interactive Menti running. Yeah, if you go to present, just go into presentation mode. Yeah, okay. And I think we should have around maybe 20 to 30 thumbs up. They're already appearing here. I'm waiting. 17. We're at 20. 24. Someone still needs time, or can I go to the next slide? 1 second. Yeah, I just made an estimation. Ah, yeah, it works. Great. So this is the first question. We want to know, what is this thing that you can see on the left-hand side? And the idea is to define it. What would you call that? Because, yeah, this is actually a mapping to the IFC standard, the building element proxy. It's not the definition, but yeah, might come over like that. And it will be really interesting to see what we will find on this word cloud, because this is something that we did kind of without the Menti, but we sat together and we discussed what we have here. What is it? What are we talking about? And there's actually a word that came up twice, or at least twice: gate, security gate, and so many different definitions. And as you can see, security always appears, also appears several times. So it has to be something that has a link to security. It has a link to a gate. But I also see boarding card reader that is also included. So as you can see, we do not have the same understanding. When you talk about something, there are many possible ways to talk about the same feature, the same entity. And I think we can now go to the next slide. Pardon? There is no correct answer. But we will come to that later. So the next, on the next slide, you shall, in accordance to that definition that you gave, you can find out what the purpose of this thing may be. Is it to provide a gateway or check the identity, divide areas, or is it to delay you or me or someone? Often it's technology, but in this, often it's people who are the weakest part in the chain, but this time it's the technology. But we could also skip the next two Menti slides. Yeah, because I think you will all get the message. So to talk about something, you need to have the same language, you need to have the same understanding. And it's not only to define something, to define this entity, but it's also to figure out what purpose does it solve, or what need does it solve, what task does it have? And according to that, you could also, if we go to the next slide, you can also provide properties to it. You can think about what properties should be defined for this thing to solve the purpose it has in your perspective. And it could have, for example, opening delay. So the time it takes for the door to open after you checked in. If it has, yeah. We would, of course, define properties in another way, like the attributes of a thing. Asset ID, for example, would be a property in our definition, or unique identifier or something like that. But in the end, it comes down to defining something, agreeing on the definition, and to do so, you will have to also look at the perspective. You have to think about the use case. What do you want to use it for? What is your perspective on airports? We have operators, we've got the maintenance, we've got clients, we've got airliners, we've got so many stakeholders in one thing, and everyone has their own perspective on specific entities, specific building components or parts, and they all need different properties to solve their needs. So this is something that we need to bring together. We need to define it, we need to define the properties, we need to define the possible values for those properties. And this is what we are doing. And I think we can go now back to the presentation. As you can see, it's a lot of different possibilities to assign definitions, assign properties and purposes. And when we go back to the presentation now, we will show you how we started this journey. In a sec, yeah, it's coming up like this. So in this group, or in a smaller group, we talked about the parts of the airport, the entities that we found that have not been defined in the IFC schema. And there are a lot, because IFC for sure is the foundation classes. They have not been defined specifically for airports. And there can't be all entities, all properties that are needed. So we tried to gather the specific domains that we found at airports. That is, for example, the baggage handling system, that is terminals, but also on the air side, we have guidance entities like the aviation signs, lighting features, and the like. So this is something on the left-hand side. You can see those different fields. And we thought about all those entities that we found within those domains. And we gave them, or tried to give them, properties and map them into IFC 4 and also in IFC 4.3. But this was just kind of a small group gathering those entities, those properties and values. And we wanted to know from more people, from all the stakeholders on the world that we could address. So we created a survey where we inserted all those findings, and we sent them out to operators, planners, asset owners, providers, product producers, to help us out and to bring in their perspective to the entities and the properties that we defined. And we have done so with the baggage handling system, but we are going on also with, doesn't work, yeah, we're going to the next slide soon, but we did so with the baggage handling system, and we are still going on with all the other fields that we defined. And we are already brought the first dictionary to the buildingSMART data dictionary. So it is published. It is, we started with the entities. We have not yet covered all the properties for those entities, but we are working on that, and we want to enhance this dictionary and more dictionaries for the airport industry to share and to map and to get to a single common language, because this is crucial for us to exchange information, and it's crucial for automation. Yeah, and we also created the IDS file, but this is up to anyone because IDS can be created by using the BSDD. And yeah, so we are going to the next slide, which is just showing all those stakeholders that we contacted and that have brought in their perspective by providing an agreement or disagreement. And we often had disagreements. Like at the picture that I showed you, and that's answering your question maybe, we defined it as an ABC reader, so automatic board control reader, but that's our perspective. And there was a big disagreement, and there are many different opinions about how to define it. But then again, it's the question of the perspective. What's your purpose? What do you need to know about this thing? What do you think does it do? So, and with this, I'm handing over to you, Ariska.
Thank you. Yeah, so we send out the surveys for all of those different categories that Morten just showed you. And for baggage handling, we did get 65 responses. So that is very exciting. We got a lot of input from all of those different organizations. So I took the time to search for all of the logos that I could find. And these are all the parties that I could find that responded. So yeah, very exciting. And we went through all of the results, and we kind of like set some guidelines for ourselves. If more than 75% of the people agreed, then we published it on the buildingSMART data dictionary, unless it was a party, for example, for baggage, like Van der Lande. They are very specialized. If they did not agree, even though everyone else did agree, we did take it back, and we actually went to Van der Lande, so that will be the next slides. We arranged a meeting with Van der Lande to discuss the results that are published on the buildingSMART data dictionary, to see if they agreed and why they didn't agree, and to kind of define the next steps. So we sent out a letter. So the first step was to just initiate a partnership. So we reached out, and they agreed to collaborate with us. So we had an online session with them, just had like an introductory meeting, explained to Van der Lande who we are, what buildingSMART is doing, and why their input is so important for standardizing the aviation industry, specifically baggage handling systems. So we reviewed the progress to date, and we shared goals and expectations for further collaboration. We had a second session, a workshop style session, where Van der Lande actually went through the entire BHS on the buildingSMART data dictionary. And yeah, we kind of just let them speak. So we went through the outcomes that Van der Lande had. They went through all of the objects that we have defined, but they also explained to us why it would or wouldn't work for their daily work. So we focused on the discussion on the evaluation outcomes, which Tina will go dive into a little bit more. But we also identified areas for improvement, and we already have some next meetings set up. So the next steps is to have a technical workshop mid-October to kind of align BHS and the IFC decomposition, because that was the first discussion that we had when we started the conversation with Van der Lande. And then end of October, early November, have a consolidation of technical and organizational insights. So just kind of have everyone back in one room to define the next steps on this collaboration. And then hopefully have in mid-November present at the buildingSMART International Industry Forum. So put it in your agenda and join that session to kind of follow the progress with Van der Lande. Go to the next slide. we had a lot of technical outcomes as well, because that was kind of, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. Okay. There it goes. So there were three topics: classificational challenges, IFC mapping and use cases, and the biggest one that I'll hand over to Tina is the hierarchy and the ontology. So Tina, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a lot of talking about what's the difference between a classification and a property, and what's more important. When do we need a classification, and when can we solve or identify an object just by properties? So the next step, when we had that point solved, or kind of solved, was how to use it on the BHS. So for the baggage handling system, van der Lande uses a hierarchy and ontology like area, zone, section, object, element. Sounds familiar, but it's something completely different, and I was so confused because for me, it's the little thing down there. So it's IFC distribution system, IFC group, IFC system. Have the next slide, please. So when we had this meeting, Morten pointed out that I was just doing something for a completely different project. Next one, just click. Yeah. So what we do at vBuild, where I'm working, we have got our BEP and our EIR. So we've got our guidelines, of course. And part of this guideline is that we have a definition how we want things to be modeled. It's not. It's very... Well, the problem is I talk fast. No, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. But you can click. Yeah, go for it. Just good. So what we do is we're not only telling architects and structural engineers how to model, but we also tell the MEP how we want things to be delivered. So when we have like complete systems, we compared our system of ventilation with the ones from the baggage handling system. Two totally different things, but in the end, I think there are huge similarities. So for example, we have for ventilation, we have the exhaust and the supply air. So we have got two IFC distribution circuits. Two distribution circuits combined with a distribution system, that's the big one, the unitary equipment, combined are one IFC system. And two different IFC systems will make a group. And you can, next slide, yeah. You can have that kind of ontology or classification broke down for baggage handling system as well. That's what we are discussing right now. Yeah, that will take some time. I shouldn't have used the animation, right? Yeah, well, I like them. So one more click, yeah, and one more, we get there. Don't worry. So if you have this kind of systems, we already use for MEP and HVAC, we can use it for the baggage handling system as well. So I was trying to have a, well, not very sharp picture actually of the baggage handling system, and just coloring in, okay, what kind of group do we have? What kind of system? Do we have a distribution circuit, yes or no? What kind of system is in there? Do we have more than one or two or three, or how many? And I think that's the next thing we're going to discuss with van der Lande. So still in development, but I think we're getting there quite fast in the end. Okay, next slide. Yeah, next. Okay, use cases. I think in the beginning when I joined the airport domain, I was a little bit confused about use cases, because in my field, next one please, what you did weren't use cases to me, it was more like a scope. And to me, I'm in management, I do have 16 projects right now, and What we do use cases in designing, design, planning, and construction in the guidelines. So we've got our use case management system set up, we've got our level of information and a level of information need, all combined together with the guidelines, and of course, for the use cases of maintenance. The airport domain, click. The airport domain uses use cases in a different way. That's what I had to learn. So what we get from the airport domain as output is going to be the substance of the BSDD. We've got entities and predefined types and properties. That will go back to the projects of the airports because we're going to use it, of course. And going backwards is the IDS, because after we defined, okay, that's our setup, that's our classifications, our properties, and the use cases will always be on the airport side. It's the client side who defines, okay, which kind of use cases will I use? And by that, you will define the level of information, and by that, the IDS. But it's all based on the IFC, of course. So next slide. And the use cases, we define them in 3 phases. So we've got design, planning, construction, and maintenance and operations. So these are standard use cases we use in projects. I think not only at the airport of Vienna, but I think all over. So it's mainly the same thing. So we've got simulations, we've got coordination, we've got cost determination, model-based acquisition, and of course maintenance, which is all should be based on models as well. We're getting there soon, I guess. Yes. No, that's cool. Next click, please. Of course, we do the model checks as basis because we cannot use models that are not checked and not qualified by themselves or within themselves or against each other for any use case. I think the main point is that we really need own entities and properties classifications, because if we don't, how can I tell my checking tool what to check? If I don't have a word for it, so maybe it's R2D2 or whatever, a gate, anything. If I cannot tell Solibri or BIM Collab, what is this thing you're going to check? It will not check anything. So I will need them very, very badly. But I think we all need them because within the use cases, we will need them as basis, the classifications, to know what we really want. So next one. Once more. So we come back to the conveyor belt, the baggage handling system. So that's a part of it. We've got that implemented within the BSDD. So now we can go back to the original use cases and say, what we've got at the BSDD as a classification with properties, we can use within the use cases. And by that, we're going back to maintenance, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to prove it. That's it.
Thank you. Can you go to the next slide? So now we're going to talk a bit about how NACO is using the BSDD in a short while. Well, at NACO, currently we're transforming the way we work. So we're becoming more digital, we're standardizing our work. And this workflow shows where we're going in the way we work. And the way we see it in our projects, we start with the client requirements, the information requirements, employer information requirements, but also the content, the program of requirements. The program of requirements containing the EASA compliance or IATA compliance, national codes, all requirements the client demands from us. And we convert those requirements, both employer information requirements and the program requirements, into IDS, machine readable specifications that we can use to check our models to comply with the client's requirements. And we use the BSDD to do it in a global standardized way. So we use the BSDD to take out the format and put it into the IDS. And after that, our information authors, they can start working. They produce IFC models, of course.
And after they produced IFC models, we use the IDS for the employer information requirement to check the quality of the data, to check if the data is there and to check if it's according to the client's requirement. If it's not, we have a way to communicate. We use BCF and it goes back into the IFC. But once the data is of the quality we need, we can start to check the content. So then next step is we use the IDS of the program of requirements and we start checking if we comply with design requirements, national codes, and these kind of stuff. If we don't, again, we go back to the model, we correct the model. And if we do, we have an IFC to deliver to the client, which complies with both the design and the content and the format, which the client can, of course, with the IDS also check themselves and completes the workflow. That's our theory of how we do it. And if we go to the next slide. So in practice, at our company, mostly we model with Civil 3D and with Revit, a bit of SketchUp as well. And we connect our airport domain IFC extension with a plugin to the information authoring software, the model authoring software. We push in all the data which was required into the models. We populate it, of course, push it into an IFC, and then use mostly Solibri model checker to import the IDS to check if we comply with both the program of requirements and the IDS. And if it's not the case, we use platforms like Catenda, Schiphol uses, or we use BIM Collab to manage the issues in a BCF server. Well, once that's done and all the omissions and errors are corrected, we can deliver a IFC that's compliant, standardized, and for this I hand over to Gerrit.
Yes, and now the CIS. The presentation didn't go right, so therefore we have to celebrate the successes. We, as Mike said, we changed our way of working. So one thing, what we've done is that we saw the strength of IFC in the past, and I hope, Louis is still here. It was not easy to connect both the civil design and the architectural design. What we encountered is that through IFC, we could have that check. And I think it will slowly getting better, but still we use the IFC. And there we saw that it helps us. We can work together with Revit and Civil 3D, but we had to combine it into IFC and see whether it worked. We also could check the requirements of Schiphol. NACO is working for Schiphol, so we could check what the requirements are, that they are met. And I always use, and when I start to have this discussion, this nice drawing underneath, I'm doing this job as an architect quite some years already. And then the first time I did this area, a new development, I had to stick it all together with all kind of pieces, PDF, pieces of drawings, all these kind of things. And now we have the ability to look at in one glance. We can look at the whole airport in one federated model, sorry. So this was for us a point of success, not only information-wise, but especially as we could show what we have done. Next slide, please. I know this is slow because then you can see it. The other thing is that we are using IDS. So our aim is to get better, faster, more transparent. And for this, we have the connection through AER, through the BDS, through IDS. That we could check our people. We could go back faster, we could show the client what we do, and we could do the enabling of the self-checks. One of the things we, in the first one, didn't envisage that it's not only a technical or it's only information-wise, but you also can bring it to your people. They can look at their own work. At the moment, we ask the draftsmen to make their own IDSs, to check what they have done in their own way. So therefore, it starts to get wider, and we as a firm want the modelers to build in the computer, not drawing lines or pick all kind of boxes one. No, they have to build in the computer. Therefore, but they have to control and to to check their own work. So therefore you get more enthusiastic people, all about like us. Yeah, next one, please. Of a moment of contemplation. Yeah, I think so, yeah. And I can rehearse in my head what I need to say now. But this is all the design stage, as you can remember. We start from the design stage, and then it goes to the, I hope it goes to the next stage. Sometimes it goes faster than the others. Our aim is to work faster, yes. We also, and I don't know if you were aware how architects' offices work, a lot of paper and do this and the last moment of work. If you want to get that more aligned, better informed, BCF was for us something that really helped, because the BCF, we can communicate, have a structured communication. We can also look at the IFC. We use the IFC and the ICE checks that it comes better. We are software independent in that sense by having the BCF service. We also get our teams better equipped and better aligned. And at the end, we are working in a more transparent way. At the end of each stage, we deliver our IFCs, including the BCF, so they know what's there. The client knows what needs to be solved. It is a way of transparency, which I think will benefit us all. And it's traceable. Who needs to do things or what isn't resolved in that stage? You are open. And therefore, as I said, you get a greater involvement with all team members. And that's something we have to do. We have to collaborate. To collaborate to get to better results and to get, you can see it in the snapshot. When I want to explain something, I think I'm going not too fast, but it's good. And we aim for this. We started this journey quite some years ago, and we at that time said, why should we do it? Why should we? Who benefits for it? Is it only our client, or is it the construction companies? I think we all do benefit from it, and for us as an engineering firm, we streamline the information so we can have new services in the future. This was our vision, and we're almost there. As you can see, we have to upgrade our information, make it standardized, as on the left hand, in the projects. So we have to have the project information, we have to combine that, we have the IFC, it's standardized, it's structured. But there's also information coming from outside, the IoT part. We are airport designers, so therefore we have to provide services on that basis. And we want to combine that. We saw it as an image, as a table. We bring those two worlds, civil, the static data and the dynamic data together on a platform, on a digital twin platform. But therefore we need it to be accurate in location and bring all the environmental things together. So therefore we need the GIS. We position that on the table. If we have that basis of truth, there is everything, all the information comes together. If we can make the connection to all kind of APIs, we can provide more services. We have one solid truth and all kind of we can use all APIs to bring it. For example, you can do it at construction supervision based on that. But you can also do the maintenance based on that. And even further, the operations and the asset management can be catered into that. So therefore, this is our vision, and we are almost there. At the moment, we are working on a digital twin platform where we can bring this all together and bring more services. Only by having a centralized truth. And that's, for us, the IFC. No. Our colleagues from China. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chen Changzhen from Guangdong Airport Authority. Because my speaking English is not well, so I need a reminder So let's begin. It's a great honor to be here today to share with with the story behind the GAA and our work on the airport entity project. For over 20 years, GAA has built most of Guangdong's airport in China. But we are not stopping there. We are determined to keep pushing forward, building and running airport in a smarter, more intelligent way. A great example is the ongoing Phase 3 expansion of Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport, a highly influential project in China. We had about 50 different stakeholders on that project, or using digital tools, but they had to deal with interoperability across more than 20 different software formats. And that, of course, came with a lot of pain points, things like model accuracy not matching up, collaboration being carefully really tough, and struggles with schedule and resource, and handing over digital access. So that's exactly why we turned to OpenBeam, an internationally recognized methodology. We implemented it at a Baiyun airport, and I'm glad to say the result throughout the project have been impressive. It helped reduce not only the cost and the errors associated with information exchange during construction, but also the cost of data ownership during operations in the future. The Guangzhou Baiyun Phase 3 project is scheduled to be operational by the end of year 2025. This morning, our team in the award presentation provided a comprehensive overview of how OpenBeam was implemented at Baiyun Airport. I think some of you already have a good grasp of it. However, the focus of my presentation here is on the work related to airport entities. We are currently developing a Chinese language airport data dictionary with our teams, including airport owners, contractors, consultants, equipment suppliers, and others. We aim to jointly create a data dictionary to deliver value to the entire industry in China aviation. Here is what we have done so far. From over 5,000 entities generated in the BEAM models for Baiyun Airport's Phase 3 expansion, we shortlisted around 70 airport-specific objects. We have organized them using buildingSMART's standardized template for data dictionaries, making sure everything is structured clearly and logically. For the naming and the description of these entities, we refer to ICAO and ITA standards as much as possible to minimize naming inconsistency and to reduce mixed meaning and confusion, thereby enhancing data usability and collaboration efficiency. Finally, we shared this list of over 70 entity objects with the airport entity project. At the last PR meeting, we already had some initial discussions about the list. It was noticed that a few entity objects were not airport specific, while others may have already been included in the existing list before. Overall, however, this list remains a significant reference value to the airport entity project. Moving forward, we intend to continue following the OpenBeam methodology to develop the Chinese language data dictionary and submit it to the BSDD website for review. At the same time, we would like to share the achievements with the airport domain, and we look forward to collecting with all members to jointly complete the official airport BSDD and promote the implementation and value realization of the IFC standard as soon as possible. Thank you very much. I'll thank to.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we are changing the project stage. So we focused the last slides all the time to design and preparing of construction. Now we're jumping into construction. So in financial words, all the things we spoke to before was roughly 5% of the budget we have. Now this is 95%. So we're starting burning money on the construction side. So it's getting more serious and we need to be much more careful. And the most important thing is, if you have these BIM models in your projects, you get much more control about the construction side. And it's not about only the project you develop, it's also about the whole context. So usually here in Europe, we don't have airports we completely have as a greenfield project. Usually everything we build is a brownfield project. So we have a lot of context all around. Context could be on neighbor buildings, but also on stuff in the ground. So usually airports have also underground supply infrastructure, and you need to be aware that you don't destroy something there if you build a new building on the place and so on. So for that reason, get control about the context and also get control about the construction site is a very important thing. Next slide, please. So how we achieve that. So we in Vienna decided to have all of the necessary services for these approaches or for these use cases completely in-house. The reason for that is airports are very secure places, and to mobilize external persons to audit specific places on your airport is a very time-consuming thing, and it's also not the easiest and cheapest thing you can organize. For that reason, it's much more easier to get people on your own team, for example, this guy or his whole team, and to make the job with the laser scanning completely by your own, and guarantee also that the quality of the projects you have all the time is really consistent. Because what you don't want to have is that it's a time of luck, or it's a question of luck to get good results, or from time to time you also get bad results. It's very, very important to have consistent quality in all of these laser scans. So we use here very high precisely laser scanning equipment from a laser scanner product manufacturer in Austria. And what we are producing with that are georeferenced point clouds. This is the thing you see here in the middle. When you produce a point cloud in an environment like this with a lot of reflected surfaces and so on, you get a result like this, completely unusable because there are so much reflections inside that you can't see the things you really want to work with and all the reflections all around. So for that reason, you need also mechanisms to filter these point clouds from things you don't want to have inside. Moving objects, usually on airports, a lot of things are moving because it's an airport, and also all the reflections from glass, from metal, and from all of the, for example, if it rains and you have water on the ground and so on, even these things reflects a lot of things, a lot of laser beams get reflected from that, and you need to remove these things from point clouds. At the end, if you make your job quite well, you have a result looking like that. So this is a point cloud which is accurate, which is georeferenced, which only displays all the things you really need. And the most important thing about the point cloud like this is the georeferencing and also the precision of the point cloud needs to match with reality extremely accurate. So we talk about millimeters, not centimeters. So usually if you have a well-trained team, like that one we see here on the left, you get a point cloud here with roughly 3 to 5 millimeters difference to reality in the whole point cloud. This is measurable, this is also proofable. And this is extremely important because if you create as build models based from that point clouds, you need to make sure that you can trust on these things. They need to be reliable because, for example, that building here has a special secret inside. All the slabs here are not completely horizontal. All the slabs in that building are a little bit sloped. And if you don't have the correct measurement of the building, you have no possibility to connect a new building placed here, for example, a terminal extension, to all the different levels and the different stories. So this is a very, very important thing, because if you don't fit the story heights with your new building, with the existing buildings, you will be in the newspaper very soon, and not with good articles about you, and so on, you can imagine. So next slide, please. And this is the first step. If you have good as-built models and you have this as something as a basis for your new development of a terminal, then you have the opportunity to create your your new building as an BIM design as well. And you have also the opportunity to build from that, or you make the construction from that BIM model. And if you start constructing, the next important thing is that you have control about construction site, that you can control that everything which is happening on the construction site really fits to the design you prepared before. And if this doesn't fit at the beginning, you have no chance at the end to get everything done completely correctly. So this starts at the beginning that you need to control the concrete work completely. So all the beams, all the columns, all the walls, slabs, and so on needs to get scanned regularly every 2 weeks and so on to have control that all the different geometries of the construction site you're creating really fitting to the planning in your model. If you don't can guarantee that all these things sits together, you have no chance at the end that all the MEP work, which is also getting in the construction site, is fitting in the building. And even when you start getting all the MEP work inside your building, the next thing is that you need to guarantee that all the big air vents or the electrical traces or the huge pipes and so on are really created on the right place. Otherwise, you have no possibilities to make sure that everything fits in the right order in the building. And everything you created before in a BIM design, which is optimized, which is coordinated and well proved that everything really works together, doesn't fit at the end in the real building if you not make sure that all of these things, all these steps are right prepared. The good message is that these steps, if you create a well done point cloud, all these steps to check your model against the point clouds can be more or less done automatically already. So this is not something you need to do by hand, or you need not to search manually in your point cloud and in your model how this fits together. There is actually not only from one software vendor, but from several software vendors, software available, which is able to check the difference between a well georeferenced point cloud to a well georeferenced design or model automatically and give you the opportunity to identify all the things which doesn't fit to your design. And this is an extremely interesting possibility because they give you the opportunity to respond extremely fast if there is a difference. If you identify a difference, more or less, if you create the point cloud, you need roughly 1 or 1.5 days for a huge construction site to get a ready point cloud. Then you can compare it, and this usually takes maybe 2 to 3 hours to check all the identified points in the point cloud or in the difference. And then you can you get the lists where you can decide, okay, what are the really essential things which needs to clarify very soon, or what is not that high prioritized. And with that result, usually after 2 days after your scan, you're able to give feedback to the construction site what they have to do or where they have to decide. And the very important thing is, in olden days, this was done manually on construction sites by construction supervision. And they look manually on the construction site, how this is looking like, is it fitting to the plan, yes or no, and so on. So it's more a question of luck that they really identify all the different problems on a construction site. If you work with tools like that, you can save a lot of money for people you send to the construction site for supervision works because you have a complete picture of the construction site. You have this picture usually every 2 weeks. So you have a legal proved documentation of your construction site from everything on the construction site. And you can also guarantee that if you make the check against the model, that all the things you check on the construction site really fit to design. It's a really, really important thing if you have huge projects, but also if you have small projects, because it prevents us as building owners that we release money to the construction company, but they don't fit our expectations. So this is something which is really important, and it also guarantees these kinds of technology that at the end we have really a built model, and the model documentation fits to the reality. Because if you hand over a model which doesn't fit to reality, you can't operate your building based on that. So that's a really essential point. And I think I need to hand over to Ariska.
Thank you. Last one, bear with me, and then we can move on to the sugar rush waiting downstairs. How is Schiphol doing it right now? I got asked to explain to you guys how we're doing this, all of this in the maintenance phase. I think a lot of great things have already been said. So I actually wanted to take a step back and go back to the information management strategy that was designed in 2019. Also because there's a lot of people in the audience still working for Schiphol that are part of this, but also some people that have actually worked on creating this strategy that are no longer working for Schiphol. And I think it's important because it's kind of a bad quality, I apologize. In the middle, we have the Schiphol environment, and to your left side, there's the project environment. And within the Schiphol environment, we actually added a data dictionary to define our asset requirements and the information needs. And below that, you see a central data environment, and that's where we store all of our asset information in the same structure as described in the data dictionary. The project side on, or the phase on the side, they use a information delivery manual. And below that is, I think what makes us kind of unique right now is we have our MC, our main contractors. We have outsourced our entire maintenance and operations through to 6 different parties, 3 main contractors, BAM, Heijmans, and Volker Infra. And they are responsible for maintaining all of our assets in the terminal, but also airside, landside, and utilities, including the information management part. So if you go to the next slide, what was very important here is the use of open standards throughout the whole life cycle, because that way we were able to just describe the data requirements and not focus so much on the applications behind it. So it's a data-driven approach to asset management, and what we tried to do with this strategy is improve the information exchange and data structure throughout the entire life cycle. So if we make any changes to our data dictionary, if you go to the next slides, where we define all of our assets at Schiphol, including all of the properties, but also the geometry and documents in the different life cycle phases, we can actually reuse this model to the project phase. It's the next slides. I think you can just click 2 more times and then it's the whole page. Oops, one back. So the data dictionary is the contract part for the main contractor. So the main contractor in the left corner is required to send all of the asset data in the same structure as defined in the data dictionary. And what we've done is we created a linking rule set to IFC. So all of the open standards coming back in the whole life cycle play a big role. So it's a very easy to describe image, but behind the scenes in all of the different steps, we have defined IFC, BCF, information delivery manual, which is based on the ISO 19650. And then the main contractors can use whatever software they would like as long as they meet those data requirements. So we really put the asset central or the object central and defined all of the requirements of those assets. We reused that data model during the project phase. So it is part of our information management protocol and our information delivery manual, where we describe both the processes for the people part, so who plays where a role, but also the data requirements. And from there on, we link back to the data dictionary where we describe what an asset is based on IFC, but also what properties we acquire and what information products or documents are needed in the design phase or in the construction phase, but also in the maintenance phase. So what the main contractor needs to deliver to us. That should eventually lead to some good models, which Hans Hendricks, who's also here today, plays a big role in. So you can't really see it, but if the quality was better, you can see the URI, so the asset description or the asset identifier of, in this case, a sprinkler installation or a sprinkler head, I think it's what it is, but also the mapping to IFC, so the IFC fire suppression terminal. So all of this information we require both from our main contractor, because it's defined in our data dictionary, but also in the project phase. So all of those open standards play pretty big role. We are currently reevaluating this strategy. I still believe in this strategy, but I also think there can be some updates here and there, especially focusing on the project part, but also on how we're currently exchanging the data with our main contractors. Right now it's being done through IFC XML messages, but hopefully we can move a little bit more towards linked data opportunities. And that combined with IFC, I think, is what the future is for Schiphol, but not sure about that yet. Still work in progress. So that's what Schiphol is doing from a maintenance perspective as of now. We've been doing this since 2019. The contracts are up until 2028, so we are currently working towards new contracts, and with that also a new strategy. But I do think that this will continue to be the basis of what is needed to continue to work open with both IFC, but also with linked data. Next. We are coming to the conclusions and the next steps. So again, you've seen the different parties presenting their different use cases and how OpenBIM is helping them in the life cycle of an asset. And so each stakeholder is really working within their own discipline, whether it's the design phase, the construction phase, the maintenance phase, but it's all connected with each other. We can't just do only our part and not thinking about the part that comes after us or the part that is in front of us. So we need to collaborate more. I think IFC is that common language between all of those different parties. We all need to speak the same language to save time, save money, the things that we hear in every presentation, but I think it is true. And it will help us actually better collaborate. Guangdong mentioned that they had delivered the airport domain a list with 70 objects, airport-specific objects. We looked at it. It's all based on IATA standards, so standards from the aviation industry. It is excellent. We are definitely looking at it. We are reusing some of it. We're coming to the conclusion that some of it is already covered in the buildingSMART data dictionary, so we need to communicate that back to Guangdong. So it's a work in progress. We're getting interest from other airports that want to help us, so hopefully they can also help and share their knowledge to standardize the aviation industry. And get more people involved. But I think, again, collaboration is key, both within the life cycle, whether you're a design party or a client party, but also within buildingSMART. I think we also need to look at the other domains to see what they are doing and collaborate more. Want to add anything? No? So the next step is to talk to the other domains, which we've been trying to do for a while now, but I think we are slowly making progress. Talk to the railway domain, the infra domain, building domain, because we added the image that we've presented for a while now. It's Plaza, it's Schiphol, but all of the different colors actually represent different domains. So just within this small piece of Schiphol Airport, we have a railway station, we have infrastructure, we have a building, we have utilities. So we have a lot of different domains, so we need to talk to the other domains to come to that one language that we can use throughout the whole life cycle and can facilitate all of the different parties that work with or for airports.
Great.
Any
Let's talk.
questions?
Yes.
7 minutes. Mark. Oh, here.
Your slide that had all of the logos of contributors, I didn't see any American airports on there. It's too bad.
Well, just for baggage.
Okay, so
So they might have
contributed to other areas.
to the other surveys.
Okay.
That's the next step.
Great.
It should be in the next step. I forgot. Yes.
Really talked about, but I guess since you're all OpenBIM, you ask IFC first. Maybe native also as like a kind of backup. But okay, maybe you have your own software licenses, maybe Revit, I don't know. What if you get IFC files and, for example, Archicad or Bentley or Tekla, and you need to have a maintenance project? So you do it maybe internally, how do you change, how do you do it? Basically, you buy a software license for everything, you have a framework agreement with maybe external parties to model in these things, or how do you do that?
Yeah, from the Schiphol perspective, I refer back to the data dictionary. So we don't describe any software. We just describe the data requirements, and the different parties can choose what software they would like to use. But that's specific for Schiphol.
Yeah, even us, because we are a public owner, we are not able to order software-specific data formats for our stuff. So we only ask for IFC files if there is a reuse of the IFC files. And I think this is what your question is asking for. We already experienced how to use the IFC file content to get this re-imported in an BIM authoring tool and rework with those things. To be honest, this is not an use case which is fully supported by an IFC4 reference view, model view definition. We actually only have available for that use case. But for that reason, we are asking also other owners to share or to support an activity to have another model view definition to explicit address these use case, to make sure that model content in an IFC file is completely reusable without any loss of information, and that we not only transport models but also drawings which are connected to the models together in an IFC file. There is already a prototype developed in Austria, I think 4 to 5 years ago, which is proving that this is possible already. And it's actually not a question how to do it, it's only a question how to get this completely integrated in an official IFC scheme, which gets published in the next 1.5 years or so. So with that, more or less, this is the basic objective every building owner actually needs to solve, how to make you completely undependent from software ventures, because you need to work with these data for the next 30 to 60 years. And no software venture can guarantee that they are available with their software in 30 years. And if some of them wants to sell your software and say he is able to do that, don't trust them, because nobody knows what's going on in the next 30 years. So you need to be prepared for that. And we're actually working already on an extension of IFC to make this possible.
All right. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I think there's coffee and snacks and sugar downstairs. Thank you.